currently a student at Vanderbilt Divinity School, finishing a Master's of Theological Studies. I hold a number of offices in student organizations, including serving as the Vice President of LatinX seminarians. In our celebration of Hispanic Heritage Month, we invited a number of Hispanic artists living in the Nashville area to discuss how their artwork was an extension of their own identities. As one of the organizers of the event, I went to introduce myself to the panelists. I extended my hand to one man and said, "Hi, my name is Brittney. Thank you so much for being here." He smiled back at me and asked simply, "Where are you from?" For most people, the question, "Where are you from?" is simple enough. Most people in Nashville are not from Nashville. They're from around the country and the world and yet have found their way to the Music City. Around here, asking someone where they're from is as expected as asking for a name. But me, I actually experienced this well before I ever moved to Nashville. Time and time again, whenever I would meet someone, I would get the same question: "Where are you from?" When I was younger, I kind of assumed everyone got this question all the time because I did. But as I grew a little older, I started to wonder if that was actually the case. Watching other people introduce themselves, I noticed that this question of origin was much deeper in the conversation, if it ever happened at all. More surprising for me was that this topic rarely extended beyond the answer for other people. "Where are you from?" "Oh, I'm from New York." "Chicago?" "Seattle." I grew up in a military household, and I've lived and worked in many different states. Because I often felt like an outsider, I assumed that people also knew that I was not from around here. Maybe it was the way that I talked or the words that I chose, the way that I dressed or the food that I ate. And in a way, I was right. People could pick up on the subtle differences that made me different. Other times, people would make a quick assumption about me. And I mean fast. People would come up to me at work and start asking questions, or when I was ordering food at a restaurant, or when I was just out at the mall. There were no places that were off limits for someone to come up to me and start asking questions. "Where are you from?" "Me, I'm from Michigan." "No, I mean, where are you actually from? Where were you born? Where were your parents born?" I was 8 years old when I came to realize that I did not look Black. My family has a wide range of skin tone. And even though I'm one of the lighter-skinned people in my family, it was not uncommon for me to see people with similar color as me who would be named as Black. But on the playground that day, I was confronted with the reality that my color was somehow different, that people saw me differently. At 8 years old, society told me that it was not colorblind, especially when your color isn't easily named, especially when your color isn't the same as your mother, especially when your father is a darker Black man. It's not colorblind when your teacher calls your parents to make sure it's your grandfather there to pick you up from school, even though he's the one that dropped you off. Society isn't colorblind when the police have been called to report you as kidnapped when you're with your great-grandparents. And sometimes it isn't colorblind when it asks you, "Where are you from?" In the church, I find a similar pattern. Rather than a common welcome or good morning, I usually end up with a well-meaning interrogation. "Did someone invite you today? How did you hear about us? Where is your church home?" Independently, all of these questions are fine. Even taken all together, these questions can help to start a conversation. And I strongly believe that it's the church's job to start these types of conversations, but only if it plans on continuing them as well. My experience in the church has been a lot more of, "Why are you here?" instead of, "I'm glad to see you." And while the church would want to be welcoming of the stranger, it actually does a much better job of reminding her that she is an outsider, that he doesn't belong. The invitation to discipleship is a time this becomes extremely apparent for me. Whenever I visit a church, I can almost guarantee that someone will ask if I have accepted Christ. It doesn't matter the church size, the denomination, or even if I'm already a member. During the invitation, someone will walk up to me and ask if I'm saved and offer to walk with me to accept Jesus. And in a lot of ways, that's embarrassing to share because I wear the right clothes. I know the Lord's Prayer, I sing the songs, and I bow my head, and I stand at the right times, and I'm even a seminarian. But none of those things are enough to show that I know Christ. I still stand out as someone who doesn't fit in. And as I look at myself in the mirror, I have to ask, what is it about me that doesn't? I don't want to suggest that my skin color is the reason, but if it isn't, then what is? Is it my hair? Was my dress too short? Did I look unsure? Each time it happens, I become more insecure about church. My husband doesn't have the same experience. And in fact, he can't remember anyone asking him if he was saved. Other friends say that it's happened once or twice, but no one else has had the frequency that I have. It's changed the way that I go to church. I walk in late to avoid fellowship time because I don't want to answer any questions about why I'm there. If I'm feeling brave, I will leave before the invitation rather than feel ashamed when someone approaches me. I've stopped visiting new churches. I don't go to hear my friends preach. But I have a strong community around me of faith-filled people that encourage me to keep coming back to church. Not everyone has that. It took me a very long time to understand when people were asking me where I was from, the real question that they were trying to ask was, what is your ethnicity? I used to get frustrated that people would continue to ask the same question I had already answered. Now that I'm older, I've started answering the question differently. I have a better sense of what a person wants to know by the way that they ask me. At the artist panel this year, I knew which question this man wanted answered. And after many years, I've perfected my own answer. I'm from Michigan, but I was adopted. My mother was Mexican and my father was Black. His response actually left me speechless. Really? Because I thought you might be Jewish. It must be something in your spirit.